Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Race Spot TV Friday Prime Time here on the iRacing Esports Network. I am Connery Medic and I'm joined by Ryan Walker for round number 9 of the official IMSA Online Sports Car Championship here on iRacing, and we head to Sonoma, California for this round of the championship. And I can't wait to get things started by any means. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this one. And Ryan, it's Sonoma. It's some classic American road racing action that's going to be on the cards here this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been quite looking forward to this to see how it goes. And yeah, it's good to see a good turnout tonight. And Sonoma, as we know, hosts a range of other series as well, not just IMSA. It also hosts NASCAR in real life as well. And this race should be a good one.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be exactly that. And for those wondering, because we've had over the last couple of weeks quite an anemic Daytona Prototype field, we actually have a much more healthy Daytona Prototype field in this one than we've had on previous weeks, so look forward to that. You have the schedule up on screen for you now, though. We are heading quickly towards the end of the season. We'll have this race at Sonoma, then we head to Road Atlanta, and then we have 2 street circuits to finish off the season. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and Belle Isle, which is going to be both weird and wonderful, and also hopefully awesome with the multi-class racing that we have here in this series. So watch out for those 2 rounds at the end of the season in particular. But before we get there, we got a couple of weeks ago, we got this race at Sonoma. We're just a couple of minutes away from getting ourselves to our starting grid. But Ryan, what are your expectations here?
I think the GTLM and GTD are going to be the classes to watch. I mean, I've got nothing against the prototypes, but most of the action this season came in GTLM and GTD, and I think tonight will be no exception.
Yep, that's the important point, because that's what we've seen throughout the season. It's both those GT classes that are giving us the lion's share of the action, and there's no reason why that can't be the same here today, because we got a couple of decent names in this field. We have the South African real-life racing driver in the ADAC GT Masters, Kelvin van der Linde, currently in that GTLM class. You have Mikkel Jensen in there as well. Jackson Harlow is the highest I-rated driver in this session. And you have, at least in GTD land, you have the likes of Nicholas Shaw and a couple of others that can give us some good action. So everything looking positive coming into this one as we get ourselves swapped over to that race session, so we can bring you the starting grid for round number 9 of this race at Sonoma in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. In prototypes, it looks a little bit like this. Grayson Wagner in pole position in the fastest class here today. Blake Neck in second place. Sebastian Hampf and Chris Aurelio will bring things down to 4th place in that Daytona Prototype starting grid. Malik Nadoya did not set a qualifying time, so he starts right at the back of that 5-car pack. In GTLM, Kelvin van der Linde starts pole position with Mikkel Jensen on that front row as well. Reina Talvar will start in 3rd with Richard Heinstad in P4. Jackson Harlow will start in P5. Dennis Marshall in P6. Zimmerman Tim in P7. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the other way around, but we'll just go with it. Sergio Jr. in P number 8. Daniel Lee in P9. Michael Roper in P10. Axel Ari in P11. And Matthew Herman will line up in 12th on the GTLM starting grid. Jon Espy in P13. P14 will go to Mikael Kotas. P15, Edward Lack. And Blake Dubois will start in P16. There's Sheldon van der Linde. That's Kelvin van der Linde's brother. Starts at the back of the GTLM starting grid due to not having set a qualifying time. In GTDs, it looks a little bit like this. It's a bunch of Mercedes, it seems. It's Nicholas Shaw pole position in that one with Christopher Kindler in 2nd place to start. P3 will go to Stephen Phillips with Matthias Spoos in P4. In P5, Nicholas Berlo. P6 goes to Joachim Siebeling. Torsten Lupolo in P7, and Derek Lee lines up in 8th. P9 will go to James Egan, Ralph Thieler in P10. P11 will be Brad Matthews, and Nicola Vedovelli will start in P12. So that's the top to bottom of your starting grid here for this round of the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. 34 cars will be on this full pace lap of the Sonoma circuit, so we got a little bit of time to discuss exactly what we expect coming into this race. And just a look at that, you got at least a good couple of prototypes there that have finally decided to show themselves. And well, there are some close qualifying times in amongst them as well, Ryan, because Blake Neck and Sebastian Hanff were actually only just a handful of thousandths of a second away from each other in qualifying for P2 and 3.
Yeah, I was just looking at their times, and they're really close. And I think Blake I recognise from racing in other series and other leagues, and yeah, he's a quick driver, and I think I wouldn't rule him out of possibly taking the win in this race. But yeah, it's one of those tracks. If you make a mistake or do anything silly, you can possibly ruin your race. So the early stages of the race, these drivers will have to think about just being patient and playing the long game. And,
well, we already described some of the real-life drivers in this race. Kelvin van der Linde, Sheldon van der Linde. You also got Richard Heistand, who races in IMSA. He is racing in the GTD machines here in this one. So that is... Well, he's in a GTE there, but he actually races in the real series in a GTD. So just getting a bit of an upgrade here in this one into that Ford GT GTE. Let's see how well he's going to do coming through this race. He starts inside the top 5, so let's see if he can get himself at least up onto the podium. That would be a good finish for that particular driver. But we're heading towards the final couple of corners of the lap now, coming through the S's section, and well, out of turn 10, and look for that big old braking zone into the hairpin of turn 11. Pace car on towards the safety of pit lane. Field under the control of Wagner, coming to the green flag. He'll hold the field, coming through the hairpin. He can dictate when to go until that green flag comes out. It's a long hold, and there we go. There's the green flag. We're going to go racing here in round number 9 of the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship at Sonoma, up in towards the first sector. The Daytona Prototypes go. They've had a pretty clean run through those first couple of corners. Things are a bit more interesting and maybe a bit more messy in GTLM. Jackson Harlow around there in an altercation through turn number 2. There might be another driver involved in that as well. You see the GTD start as well, heading their way through. They haven't had too many drivers. There's Edward Lack that's had an off in the GTE machines. There's a Porsche around as well there. So GTLMs, this has been a poor start for them. And one of the tricky things about starting some of these GT cars, especially when you have the full pace lap here. Oh, there's more cars off in the background. There's a GTE in the wall, one of the Mercedes. That's Stephen Phillips there from Club UK and Ireland, getting himself back onto the circuit. And one of the things that people have been struggling with here, Ryan, in GT when it comes to these race starts is trying to make sure those tires are up to temperature, because things, on the cold tires, they're just sliding around a massive amount on the opening 1 or 2 laps.
Yeah, it just looks like some of these drivers, like you mentioned, struggling with the cold tyres, and just be cold. There's a bit of contact in the exit of the final corner with a couple of the GTLM cars.
That was 3 wide for the race lead in GT. It wasn't. Excuse me, 3 wide for the race lead in GTLMs. It was Calvin van der Linde, Tim Zimmerman. That was for P2 and P3 there in that particular class. They've just been absolutely scrapping it out through the final sector there. That was brilliant stuff to witness. So we're riding on board with Sergio Jr. here at the moment as we're on lap number 2 of this event now. A lot of GTLM cars have not had the best of starts by any means. But Reina Talvar leads at the moment. Van der Linde in second place, Tim Zimmerman in third, and Sergio Jr. in P4. That's the running order in GTLMs. They're still all stacked up together in their trains, which is what we expect. We're only on lap number 2 of this event, but now comes the point towards the end of this lap and into the third and fourth laps is when those GTE cars are going to be a little bit safer to drive, I think.
Yeah, I think that's when the tyres will be close enough to being up to temperature and having more grip. And yeah, the first couple of laps, just some drivers have been caught out by cold tyres, but at the moment it seems everyone's been sensible. As one of the prototypes had issues, that's Sebastian Hanff.
Yeah, he's still in third place at the moment and not too far behind Blake Neck. Let's see exactly what happened there. Does he go too deep on the brakes? He outbrakes himself into the hairpin. He didn't intend to dive down the inside there of the geodesic racing car of Blake Neck. So, yeah, that was just a simple error there from Sebastian Hanff. There's an Audi in the wall. That's Nicola Venzavelli. Let's see what's happened here to the driver of the number 32. Is this a solo car incident? Is there anyone else involved? It's just a solo car incident. Back end getting away from that driver, and, well, takes an embarrassing spin coming towards the final couple of corners.
Yeah, it just looked like from what I see.
Oh, it's another GTLM off.
Oh, there's a GTLM.
What's happening? That's Mikael Jensen. Wow, like some of these GTLMs and GTDs, to be fair, are struggling to keep it on the circuit. Mikael Jensen, there's his incident. Puts that beautiful rear bodywork of that Ford GT into the wall, which is not where it should be. He is actually taking the tow back to pit lane here, so that's going to be his race basically done and dusted at this point. But wow, the attrition rate has been not great.
Yeah, absolutely not. And we're only about just basically 5 minutes into this race, and everyone's just having issues already. But I wasn't expecting it to be this early in the race. Normally, from this season so far, it's been people seem to have issues or it all starts to kick off towards the end of the race.
Yeah, you know, that's usually the trend that we've seen. You know, especially with some of the draft tracks, for example, where you can just sit behind fuel save and GTLM and not worry too much. But this is a track where you can't really do that. They're not massively long straights here at Sonoma, so not a lot of opportunity to fuel save. And we've seen another instance, Sergio Jr. into the back of Tim Zimmerman. Zimmerman has to rejoin the circuit, does so in a safe fashion, but yeah, this is front to rear contact. Sergio Jr. straight into the back of Zimmerman, punts him through the corner, and it seems like GTLM woes continue.
Yeah, I thought everyone would have been sensible and just tried to maybe just settle down, but at the moment everyone's just making silly mistakes. As I looked at a replay of Nicholas Berlo and GTD, and it looks like he just clipped the grass and spun round.
Yeah, that can happen. Oh, that Mercedes coming through almost got a piece of him. But well avoided by that driver. But man, we've had quite a incident-packed opening couple of minutes of this race, I think it's safe to say. The battle for P2 in Daytona Prototypes is still on, though. So Sebastian Hanff, despite his mistake just a lap or so ago into the final corner, he's still being able to keep tabs on Blake Neck here. And so remember, like I said while they were going through the pace lap, these guys were only a handful of thousandths of a second separated in qualifying, and it looks like their pace differential is not all that much in the race either.
Yeah, absolutely not. And it looks like there's been an issue for GTLM of Sergio Jr.
Yeah, let's see what's happened here. Up to the top of the hill, through the first sector. Car just broke away on entry to that. Spat him towards the outside, out into the dirt he goes. But no one else collected in that. He doesn't hit a barrier. So he's able to continue on his way. Just drops the positions there to Sheldon van der Linde. Sheldon van der Linde, by the way, he started dead last in GTLMs. He's up to P5 already within 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy, and I think it's some of that's been helped by some of the other competitors in GTLM just having issues in the early stage of the race and just making silly mistakes, and Sheldon's just been there and picked up pieces and picked up the places, and at the moment, already up into P5. So yeah, good going by Sheldon at the moment.
Yeah, he's just been able to keep his nose clean, I think, and he's just been able to scythe his way through the field while everyone else has been having their incidents. So Daytona Prototype's getting caught up with GTDs. Blake Neck tangles with the Audi through the end of the first sector. They both find the barrier. That means that Sebastian Hampf has gone through to second place in Daytona Prototypes, and now Blake Neck will have a bunch of damage.
Yeah, that was just a fight. I don't like to unfortunately blame, but it's like Blake was just going for a gap that was closing, and just lack of patience.
Yeah, but Blake, yeah, that's not a move that's going to be on the lap traffic through the first sector. You know, it's very difficult to even get past, you know, at the best of times through those opening couple of corners. But when you're trying to force the issue on an Audi that doesn't want to easily let you by, then just sit behind in the Prototype. You know, yes, you are in a battle for position, but you'd rather remain in that battle for position than completely than have an incident like that takes you completely out of the equation.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. It's better to just stay behind, and it's better to lose maybe 2 or 3 seconds rather than do something risky and ruin your race like Blake done there, and just got a bit, yeah, I guess a bit frustrated.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's head isn't in the right space for this race, I don't think, especially with the chaotic start that we've had. And, you know, this is Sonoma. It's not the best track to, in terms of traffic either, or of traffic management. So you can see why maybe time was of the essence as far as as far as Blake Neck was concerned. But again, it's still early stages of the race. You can't just be trying to force lap traffic off the normal racing line that they're entitled to take into the corner, and it wasn't really an opportunity for him, I have to say as well. I've never seen anyone make a pass into that corner, but we can actually show you the track map, because you can see, you know, why the lap traffic situation is so difficult. It's a pretty short circuit in the grand scheme of things, and with a lot of cars on it, all of a sudden it does get very, very claustrophobic, and when there are no obvious opportunities to deal with lap traffic, it does result in some of the incidents that we've seen.
Yeah, and yeah, back up in GTLM as well, we've got this battle going on at the moment between, yeah, quite a few drivers, put it that way, and this battle for third place between Richard Highstand and Dennis Marceau has been going on for a lap or two, and not far behind them they've got a couple of other cars as well. So if these guys start scrapping amongst themselves or do anything silly, a couple of these guys behind them will be happy to pick up a couple of places.
There we go. There's the battle for the race lead in GTLM though. That's down to almost half a second between Talvar and Van der Linde. So we can expect that to potentially be a big feature in this one. Of course, Kelvin van der Linde, he did start pole position in this. Didn't have the greatest of starts, fell back 1 position. Talvar, he started in 3rd place, 2nd row of the grid. He's been able to get himself to the very pointy end of the field. But it looks like there's not really a lot to separate these guys at the moment.
Yeah, they both seem to be evenly matched on pace, and at the moment Kelvin doesn't seem to be able to do anything about it. He just seems to be falling back a little bit, but under braking he closes back up, and I think tonight anyway around Sonoma, I don't think it'll all be about pace. I think some of it will be down to strategy and maybe trying something different even when it comes to the pit stops.
Yeah, I do get the feeling that the fuel game is a much reduced factor in a race like this, you know, just due to how the circuit is. But pit stops is still going to be very important, like you said, Ryan, because it's about avoiding traffic now. It's not about the fuel numbers, it's about avoiding traffic. And if you can find a gap in the pit window where you can slot yourself in and not have to deal with either Daytona Prototypes coming through on you or you coming through on some of the slower traffic, that's going to be pivotal in terms of how this race turns out, I think.
Yeah, I think as soon as the pit window opens, say if the person in front of you is coming up to traffic, or you could use the car in front of you and see if they're coming up to lap traffic. If you are catching traffic, that might be the perfect time to dive into the pits when the pit window's open, and to maybe try and get that maybe try the undercut and gain the track position by doing that.
Yeah, so a lot of things to think about coming into those one and only set of scheduled stops. There's a Mercedes parked on the grass there. That's an interesting one. I think they've been there a while as well. They finally take the tow back towards pit lane. Yeah, it's just the pit stop strategy is going to be a very, very interesting one. Of course, you know, they won't be taking tyres, as we have to explain every single week. The tyres are more than good to go 45 minutes under racing conditions, so it's just fuel until the end. There's Nicholas Shaw, race leader in GTD, decides to break our graphics as well because he's actually ahead of a GTLM 4 position, so which is why that has happened. So Nicholas Shaw having a good run of things at the front of the slowest class.
Yeah, I have to say he's managed to pull away and build up a bit of a gap to the next car in class, which is Christopher Kinblair. So yeah, he's pulled away, built up a bit of a gap, and just all by himself at the moment.
Yeah, he is. So Central Eastern European driver in that AMG Mercedes has a 9.5 second gap to the race leader, like I said. So, you know, he's got to turn it around quickly if he's going to have a chance. You know, these races are short in the grand scheme of things. We don't have, you know, a lot of time to play with like the real-life IMSA series. It's more of a sprint series for all intents and purposes, despite still being multi-class. We're on board with Thorsten Leopold at the moment in P number 8 in GTDs, trying to chase Ralph Fieler. And they're going through the S's section at the moment. So, you know, these battles are brewing, and I think, touch wood, that things have kind of calmed down at this stage compared to the first 10 minutes of this race. But I know how the commentator's curse is, so I got to be very, very careful. Daytona Prototype's down the inside, though, and that's a battle for position. That's Aurelio and Malik Doya heading their way through. That's for P4 and 5, so the last couple of positions in Daytona Prototypes. That's the battle up on screen for you there. So we'll see who comes out on top in this one, because Malik Doya, he's been featuring in these races quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and he did not set time in qualifying, so which is why he started at the back of the Daytona Prototype grid, and he's kind of struggled to work his way through at the moment, but he does have this potential pass on the cards.
Yeah, quite possibly. If he gets a good run on the exit of the carousel, I could probably call it, or I think that's what it's called in real life. But he doesn't seem to be able to get a good exit. So yeah, he can't get a run and to try and make a move into this double right-hander.
Yeah, he can't, and you can see the gap not really going in the favour of either one of these two drivers at the moment. There's battle for P4 in GTLM, and you can count third in this as well, because that's Richard Heinstein. That's a couple of cars down the road. So big old battle for the final podium position in GTLM. We're also keeping an eye on that race leading gap as well. Oh my words, I just saw this on my screen. Talva, oh, Van der Linde's been shunted off by a lap car, and there's a GTLM spun. That's Talva. What's this craziness at the front of GTLM? What in the world has happened there? We'll get to see it on the replay. You can see Talva getting aggressive with the traffic there, trying to squeak his way through. Then what is the lap traffic? What is the GTD car doing there? He shoves Van der Linde off into the inside and then completely and utterly punts Talva through the hairpin. That's disastrous for that GTD.
Yeah, that was just frankly pathetic driving by that GTD car. The GTLM cars coming through didn't do anything dirty, but the GTD car just comes across Van der Linde and just basically, you could say, sideswipes in.
That's the number 33, Nicholas Burlow in GTD, that has a good part to play in that, shall we say. Yes, Talva was getting aggressive with him through the final couple of corners, you know, trying to get through in a hurry. So you can blame Talva for that, but you can't blame... Oh, I stand... Oh! That Mercedes, I'm probably less said about that driver the better, because this is just disgraceful.
Yeah, that was just... I don't know what that GTD driver's doing, but yeah, done the same again to Richard Highstand, who I think didn't do anything wrong when trying to lap him. He slipped up the inside cleanly, and yep, just got sideswiped like he done with Van der Linde.
Yeah, that is diabolical there, in my opinion. It's not often I have such strong opinions on a broadcast, but my word, I've never quite seen anything like that in a top split, let me tell you that. But battle, you know, despite all of that, battle for the race lead between Talva and Van der Linde, they're still on, and they have to avoid someone going off the pit lane. Oh my word, this is all getting a bit too much.
Yeah, I'm just having, I'm on my toes just watching this as well, and yeah, these guys are basically like, I dread to think what it's like for these guys trying to get through, but at the moment they're just managing to get through without any issues, and still this battle for the lead in GTLM is still really close.
Yeah, it is, despite everything, and it's between the two of the same drivers as well. So somehow that entire process has meant that the GTLM race lead battle is still a thing. I'm certainly surprised. I might have jinxed it when I said things had calmed down. You know, I guess blame me for that, but Jesus, oh my word. That number 33 AMG Mercedes and GTD, Nicholas Berlo, I think he's going to get more than a couple of protests after this is done, I think.
Yep, I have to agree with you. I think there'll be a few GTLM drivers, especially Van der Linde being one of them. I don't think they'll be happy. And GTLM leader into the pits.
There we go. And well, we've seen GTLM opening stints in most of the season try to completely and utterly drain the fuel tank, but it's seemingly like it's more of a 50-50 situation here for Rein Talva, as he brings that Ford GT down onto the pit lane. He also has a bit of damage to the rear end, so he might even take this opportunity to get maybe a couple of seconds of optionals.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think from what it looked like, he didn't have major
high stands off. High stands off.
High stand.
Yeah, there we go. Almost rejoins into the path of Aria there. As high stand, this is a solo error coming to the top of the hill. It's so tough through there because the track is dropping away from you as the track levels out and the car gets light, and so you can just see exactly what that results in.
Yeah, it looked like it. That rejoin. Yeah, it looked like he just carried too much speed on the entry and just went offline slightly, and just caused him to run wide possibly on the Marbos and just lost grip.
Yeah, so we are seeing Talva take damage repairs. Oh, it's a long stop. 51.1 seconds for Talva. Off and away he goes. That says to me it might have been Meatball, but I didn't see too much damage there to that Ford GT. So he must have made the calculations in his head that he was losing more time having the damage than he would get it repaired. There's an Audi off there through the S's. Didn't quite spot who that one was, as contenders seem to still be dropping like flies.
Yeah, but
that's a close one through the hairpin. That's Michael Rupert, Blake Dubois coming through towards the pit straight there. Dubois still behind. Rupert defensive into turn number 1 as they start to climb the hill, and he'll remain ahead. There's a Mercedes, and there we go. That's the opportunity that Roper needs down the inside. There's another Ford GT getting himself involved as well. That's Jackson Harlow in the number 1 Ford GT, trying to work his way through after a terrible start. He's making some good progress now, but again, it's traffic getting involved, flashing of the lights. You can see there from Roper trying to get the Mercedes out of the way, dives down towards its inside for turn number 6, and he's clean through, and he'll come under threat though. That's Jackson Harlow. He's certainly have something to say about this one. Is he going to go for a move on the brakes into the right? Nope, not going to be having the opportunity to be able to do so. But Jackson Harlow, he started relatively far up the field. He's only just been able to pull back a couple of positions.
Yeah, it seems to be had a good start to the race, and it's kind of he's fallen back a little bit, and it's not going the way he wants it to go at the moment, but he's kind of managing to gain some positions back, but at the moment he's not where he wants to be.
Oh, down the inside. Oh, they touch. Through towards the exit of the corner. They keep it all together. As that was Jackson Harlow and Blake Dubois almost coming together. In fact, they did come together, but Harlow was able to hold on to it. So they still remain as their trio for P8, 9, and 10 in GTLM. But elsewhere, you do have battles as well. You got Ari versus Heinstand for P6 and 7. And you got a battle for position in GTDs as well for 6 and 7 there between Thiele and Leupold. But there's the battle for P2 in GTLM up on screen. Dennis Marshall, Sheldon van der Linde. Sheldon van der Linde, he's in a podium spot, and we still haven't got to the first set of stops yet for most of the GTLMs, and he started at the back.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is an absolutely incredible run by Sheldon. He started at the back in GTLM and managed to work his way up to a podium position at the moment, like you mentioned. I wonder if he can get into second and possibly try and make a Van der Linde 1-2.
I mean, that'll be one of the more unique 1-2s that I've ever seen. Just keeping it in the family there with the Van der Lindes. But Sheldon, at the moment, he's the one that has to be the man putting off the passes, as he has to deal with Dennis Marshall. Sheldon, though, he's about a tenth and a half of a second slower on that last lap. There's a car in, that's Jackson Harlow. So another GTLM heads towards the safety of pit lane, and I think safety is probably the name of the game for GTLMs at the moment.
I don't think it'll be really about pace for the rest of the race. I think it's just the fittest survival of the fittest, I should say. And just looking at the retirements as well, we've got 3 official retirements and 3 in pit road for or 3 have been on pit road for 12 minutes. So yeah, it's this track is starting to take its toll on some of these drivers and cars at the moment.
Yep, it is. You can see the beat up left front of the driver that we're on board with at the moment. That's Heinstand deep on the brakes, almost running into the back of the car ahead of him, but keeps it all clean. You see yellow pen out. There's the damage that Heinstand has to deal with, but he's keeping tabs on that car ahead of him. That's Axel Air in the number 20. But I guess he's kind of lucky, considering I think Talvar did have a meatball flag. I see no other reason why he'd spend 50 seconds on the pit lane when you're only really required to do less than 10 to take the fuel.
Yeah, it might have possibly maybe had some aero damage as well, or maybe got a meatball flag as well. But yeah, that's ruled him out of the battle for the one in the GTLM, and as Heinstand tries to get around a GTD car, and yeah, he's been held up a little bit.
Yeah, he is, and that's Derek Lee. There we go. Sends it down the inside. Mercedes gave him the line, so he's able to continue on his way. We have the overall race leader on the pit lane. That's Gresham Wagner. He hasn't really been challenged throughout this race, and coming in and taking his scheduled stop. There's the battle for P4 in GTLM, though. Sergio Jr. versus Tim Zimmerman here, and well, it's the battle that we're used to seeing in GTLMs. It's 4GT versus 4GT, but they're not all 4GTs in this session. We have a Porsche, that's the number 17 of Johan Espe. We also have a Ferrari. We have Daniel Lee in the number 22. But it still seems to be the continuing theme. Oh, I just saw that up on my screen. I was just spectating Derek Lee as he almost came together with one of the Audis, I believe it was, and that was Brad Matthews through the S's section. It was just an inch or so between them.
Yeah, I was watching as well, and it was so close. As in the background, you've got a GTLM car trying to lap the Audis, and yeah, after all the mayhem, it seems to have settled down a little bit. Hopefully,
Don't say it.
Oh, I'm not going to jinx anyone. I'm not going to. But yeah, I'm waiting for it to all kick off again now since I said that.
I've already jinxed it this race, Ryan. I don't need you to do it as well. You know, the double commentator's curse. So, Gresham Wagner, he's come down in for his scheduled stop from the overall race leads. Slots in P4. But he had a pretty comfortable gap coming on towards pit lane, so he should be able to re-inherit this one once the rest of those Daytona Prototype pit stops come through. There's Sebastian Hamp coming down in for his one and only service, or hopefully one and only service. These drivers would be hoping it's one and only. But in this situation, Hamp getting himself stopped in this pit box. There we go. Just the fuel to the end of the race. Back to GTLMs though. Back to Tim Zimmerman and Sergio Jr. They've been stuck together like glue over the past couple of laps, and due to how wide the pit window is here, there are you can basically come down in at any lap at this point and still be relatively okay. It's all about finding that gap on the exit.
Yeah, I think it's just about like you say, you could pit now and you'll be able to get to the finish from here, but it's just a matter of after the pit stop just trying to find some clear air and not getting held up by traffic. And if you come out in clear air, you can try and put some quick laps down and try and jump the person in front of you.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. And well, there's Junior and Zimmerman about for P4. There's about for P2 as well between Marshall and Sheldon van der Linde, but that one hasn't really fluctuated all that much in recent times. Van der Linde hasn't been in the position to be able to send one. Neither has Zimmerman, to be honest, as these battles are sort of a bit stagnant at the moment. Oh, Zimmerman. Oh, there's a car off. That's Derek Lee. That's had a problem in the Mercedes. Is it with this Ford GT? I have to wonder. Let's let it run through. Whoa, it is with the Ford GT. Wow.
Yeah, that was a bit... I think... I'm not sure who I would put the blame on. I don't think anyone in that incident, no one was to blame. It's just one of those unfortunate things just because of the speed difference.
Margin's too tight. I think I'll explain that one. But Blakeneck down onto the pit lane. So that's the entirety of Daytona Prototype pit stops done now. So they've all come down in and have gotten their service. Blakeneck heading his way out. So Gresham Wagner leads in Daytona Prototypes with Sebastian Hamp in second place. Blakeneck and Malik Doyer though, did they just swap? I think they just did on my timing screens. Yeah, that's a very close battle for P3 in Daytona Prototypes. Malik Doyer just about able to get ahead of Blakeneck as he was coming off the pit lane.
Yeah, Ryder on board with Neck
Oh,
now.
he's got the...
Doyle runs wide a little bit, and that allows Blake up the inside to pick up the position.
Well, there we go. Just one mistake means the positions get swapped around. Malik Doyer not able to hold on to that as Blakeneck tries to now gap him immediately after getting that pass done and capitalizing on that opportunity gifted to him on a silver platter. Ooh, there's a Ferrari around. Daniel Lee having a problem there. Let's see. Oh, he had to wait a while to try and rejoin the track. That's for certain. But what started it? What put him into the perilous position of being stranded in the middle of the circuit? We'll let this one run through. Bit of a snap there. That's always the tricky thing with these elevation changes, is that the car can sometimes not be too happy with them on those changes of gradient. You can see him sliding his way through turn number 6. And now into 7. This is going to be where the trouble spot's going to be. Again, slides on exit. It seems like the Ferrari was just not too happy about that situation, just sliding about all over the place. You saw it through turn 6. Magna Doyer's off on the live pictures. Wow, big smash. Oh, through the first sector. Why is Doyer rolling back across the circuit? Oh, that's such a perilous situation, but somehow everyone able to get through at the moment. That rejoin, there we go, eventually comes through. But what happened here with Doyer, it's with Daniel Lee. So that Ferrari we were watching on the replay is involved in an incident on the live pictures. Doyer going for the inside there, the Ferrari turning in. Yeah, that's just another awkward one.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, that was absolutely from.
Oh yeah, you see that.
Went up the inside from way. Oof. Yeah, I think the gap was. I don't know if it looked like the Ferrari was maybe just leaving the gap open, and then Doyer must have thought he was leaving it open for him to go by, and just maybe a bit of an misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's the awkward thing, because I think the Ferrari did see Blakeneck coming through, didn't expect Mark Doyer to be going for that lunge, and it's an optimistic lunge at best. So the Ferrari was already committed to the line he was taking through the corner. Doyle coming in at a rate of knots. Contact between the two of them. And, well, Sujo Jr. on towards pit lane. So the GTLMs are coming into the pit lane in drips and drabs. And I think that's what we expected here, Ryan, considering the lack of fuel-saving opportunities. They'll be less likely to go entirely the distance on the fuel tank. So they're just coming in at the opportune time for each driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Say there's not really that many straights around Sonoma. There's only, I guess, the many straights. Is like, oh, it's one of the GTT cars is around us. Yeah, that looks like a. Who is that? That's the same. Daniel
Derek Lee again.
Derek Lee again, I should say. My bad.
Yeah, not been a great day. He is in 4th in GTDs though. So, I mean, even though his day's gone terribly with the spins and some such, somehow he's still in P4. There's the spin out of turn 6. Didn't quite nose it into the barrier, I don't think. Although there is damage to that AMG Mercedes, both front and back. So you can see it's been in the wars.
Yeah, absolutely. That car's a bit, well, it's heading towards being very second-hand, put it that way. But amazingly, still running in 4th position in class as Sheldon van der Linde is into the pits.
Yep, he is. And there we go. That's going to be one of the front runners from GTLM coming down in. Zimmerman and Heistand are also in. So looks like this is when most of the big competitors.
I don't think he stopped.
Yeah, Sheldon van der Linde, he did not stop. I don't have a stop time. We don't have a stop time on the graphics either. Has he missed his pit box and decided to go all the way through? That's a big error.
Yeah, I was checking his pit lane time, but I don't see a stop time. So yeah, I think he's missed his pit box.
I mean, he would be starting nearer the... Yeah. Oh, there we go. We just saw it. Brandon knows that car, and I don't think he was expecting his pit stall to be so early. Remember, he started at the back of the grid in GTLMs. So that one's an awkward one. And, well, he's basically given himself a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to describe that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's absolutely ruined his race because he was having a great run there, Sheldon, but he's going to have to come back in and for a second time and do a pit stop, which is just going to throw him right down the GTLM order. And yeah, watching this battle for the 8th position in GTLM as well. But yeah, if I was Sheldon, I would be kicking myself right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't pull it into those pit boxes, then just reverse it down the pit lane, as we've seen many times on some of these races. Maybe not over this past season, but we've seen some people make silly moves on pit lane, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. But Kelvin van der Linde, unlike his brother, gets his pit stop service done. I think there'll be some interesting words between those two after this one, just joking about that.
Yeah, so
there we go, he's in.
I think he's out of fuel.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's the thing, because if he was running the fuel tank dry... Oh! Absolutely nothing in the tank in that Ford GT. He has the clutch all the way down, so he's just coasting it, rolling it to his pit box. And this is where his pit box being so early is actually going to work to his advantage, because he doesn't have to roll down the entirety of pit lane. But this is a torturous roll at a couple of kilometers an hour down the pit lane and aiming for his pit box. There we go. Gets it stopped, gets it in. The danger there was if he'd overshot it, because he wouldn't have enough fuel to get reverse gear going. So at least he gets it stopped.
Yep, and yeah, he does a bit of a burnout on the exit of the pit box for good to round it off. And yeah, I think that's some of that's down to frustration.
Yep, there we go. So he's off and away. So he's down in P11 now. So it's been a bit of a yo-yo race for Sheldon van der Linde, shall we say. He was at the back of the field at the start, caught his way up into podium positions. And Dennis Marshall, that's a fast stop there. Here we go. Battle with Kelvin van der Linde. Is he able to get out ahead? No, he isn't. Kelvin van der Linde is through, but only by 1.3 seconds. So Racely and GTLM still on for the final 8 minutes.
Yep, absolutely, and yeah, I think the gap's only 1.3 seconds, and I think if Dennis can put the hammer down and put in some hot laps, you could say, I think he'll be able to close the gap back down on Kelvin.
Yeah, so that is certainly a big potential for this race to get even more chaotic if that battle comes down any further. Sergio Jr. just had a bit of an off-track excursion on my own view of things. The driver that was challenging for the race lead early on, I think it was, well, he almost ran into the back of another AMG Mercedes, and he seems to not be having the best of times with the GTDs at the moment, to say the least, is Sergio Jr., but avoids the incident that time around. He remains in P4 and about 4 seconds behind Tim Zimmerman. But there's the gap for the race lead in GTLM. 1.5 seconds now between Van der Linde and Dennis Marshall. So Van der Linde started in pole position. He's back up to the race leading position. But can he hold it? And, well, the question's more going to be, can Dennis Marshall actually do anything about that gap?
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like Kelvin's just managing to pull away a little bit and just maintain that gap, and as we've got about just coming up to about 6.5 minutes remaining, and it looks like this is the closest battle at the moment on track.
Yeah, so there they are, heading their way through. Just about coming up to 6 minutes remaining in this race, and the GTLM battles have kind of all spread themselves out after that set of stops. So we're seeing no one within a second at the moment. There's your race leader, your overall race leader, Gresham Wagner, 6.7 seconds ahead of Sebastian Hanff in Daytona Prototype. So Wagner has a decent lead here, but you know, we can talk about how much of a decent lead he has, but a decent lead can basically be eradicated if he runs into a troublesome GTLM or GTD.
Yep, and we've seen in the race, in the early stages of this race, that some certain GTD cars can be troublemakers and cause mischief, but yeah, at the moment it seems to be that most of the field's spread out at the moment, and looking further back in GTLM, Sheldon van der Linde is in a battle for 11th place with Zoan Epsi, I should say.
Yeah, within a second between those two, 0.8 of a second to be exact. Battle for positions, at least in the tail end of GTLMs, the cars that are still running, I think is probably the way I will say that. P11, P12, coming into the final 5 minutes of this race. There's the gap for the race leader GTDs, as Nicholas Shaw has basically been able to keep himself out of trouble in this race, and it seems like that's the recipe for doing well here. Just keep out of trouble and you're probably going to end up with a top 5, but in the case of Nicholas Shaw, it's the race lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas has pretty much been on his own for most of the race, and about 25.9 second lead, and no one's really challenged him, because everyone else has just been getting caught up in issues or having problems.
Jackson Harlow on his steady recovery drive after his tumultuous start. Now only a second behind Richard Heistand down the inside of the Audi. That gets very close into turn 7, but Harlow's able to make it work without further incident, continuing to try to claw in that gap. As I guess there's a couple of things to watch here for the end of this race. Well, for P5, the closest one out on track. In GTLMs, you have the Van der Linde Marshall situation. I won't say it's a battle just yet. The gap's remaining very, very static there. Both of these cars on the onboard, though, having to go around the outside of traffic through the hairpin. The Audi getting well out of the way, not wanting to get involved at all. But at least as far as race lead and GTLMs is concerned, I think Van der Linde's doing all he needs to do.
Yeah, I'm just watching Kelvin at the moment, and he's just doing what he needs to do and just maintaining that gap. He's not overdriving, he's not pushing too much. He's just doing enough to maintain that gap and keep a consistent pace. And at the moment, it seems to be he's not being challenged, so all he has to do is just keep it on track and get to the finish. And this battle for P5 is still going on at the moment, but apart from that, it seems to have, hopefully I don't jinx it, it seems to have settled down.
You like to play with fire there, right?
Yeah.
So, who knows? It's the final couple of minutes of the race. Things might go pear-shaped. And, oh, Van der Linde, actually. Just as I said that, we did jinx him. Van der Linde, that gap has now come down to just a couple of tenths of a second because he outbroke himself through the final hairpin. And now this is a big opportunity for Marshall. He can now pile on the pressure to Van der Linde, and he's already in a compromised state after that incident.
Yeah, and it looks like I've joined the Jinx Club.
Oh, that's so close. Sorry to interrupt. Oh, look at Marshall just sliding it. You can see he's trying to get every single tenth of a second out of that car.
Yeah, absolutely. And Van der Linde is kind of, seems to have dropped off a little bit, but Marshall, he's not letting him get away that easy. And like you say, he's absolutely throwing that car around, trying to get every inch and every tenth out of it.
Edward Lack gets well out of the way as they head into turn 7. Marshall, a little bit of a shallower line coming through 7 and 7A. Is he able to try and claw in the remaining couple of tenths of a second of that gap? He's going a bit too heavy over these curbs, though, I have to argue, and losing a bit of the time as a result. There's the battle for P5. Richard Heistand versus Jackson Harlow. Real-life IMSA driver versus sim racer. Who's it going to be? In towards turn number 7. Harlow trying to go the long way around. He's going to go for the cut back there on that driver of Heistand side-by-side through 7A. And now side-by-side through the S's section. And Jackson Harlow has to call it quits there. He's going to live to fight another day. They'll get at least one more lap as they come across the line. So a couple more opportunities for Harlow to get by. There's the battle for the race lead in GTLMs, though, up on screen for you. So a couple of places to look at here. Marshall again taking these curbs so heavily. There's a car that's going backwards on the grass there. That's one of the Porsches in GTLMs as Jackson Harlow and Heistand are going door to door, coming down the pit straight into turn number 1, turn number 2, turn number 3 now, and Harlow still can't find his way through. So now the battles are happening at the late stages of this race. Heistand just about able to hold on for the moment. Race lead in GTLMs, though, where is that? Van der Linde still ahead by about 3.5 tenths of a second here. We're coming towards 10 seconds remaining. Wagner, he's already come through to start his final lap. So it'll be one more for these GTLM cars to try and sort out their differences. There's the race leading battle into turn 11 for the second to last time. One more lap to go in this battle. Harlow and Heistand are still going at it through turn 7 and 7A there. And is that the overall race leader there, Gresham Wagner? Are we going to have a similar situation to what we saw at Mid-Ohio with the race leader coming through to end the race one lap early for a battle that we've been watching? I think Gresham Wagner's just going to stick behind this one for now. He'll force them to go the extra lap. So that's the battle between P5 and P6, Heistand and Jackson Harlow. But there we go, Gresham Wagner coming across the line to win overall here and in the Daytona Prototype class. He takes victory, but there's still many undecided battles here. Nicholas Short will come across the line to win in the GTDs. There's a car around, though. Is that Jackson Harlow? Oh no, Sergio Jr. that's actually spun around there. They had the same livery on their cars, which is why, hence the confusion. But Sergio Jr. has dropped a couple of spots now at the very end of this race. There is Nicholas Short. I think he's already headed his way through to win in GTDs. But now we can see Kelvin van der Linde at the very front of the field in GTLMs. He's been able to hold off Dennis Marshall. Marshall goes deep on the brakes into the final corner, but that is simply way, way too far back. And as a result, Kelvin van der Linde will be able to deal with the pressure to come across the line and win in GTLM.
Yep, in this battle between looks like High Stand and Jackson Harlow's coming around to the final corner, and it looks like Richard's going to hang on for this.
Oh, look at that! Harlow down the inside of the final corner. Is he able to rip this position away? It's going to be door-to-door, drag race all the way to the line. Who's it going to be for the position? I think Harlow will be able to grab it at the line there. Brilliant stuff. Wow.
Oh, what a finish. That was absolutely fantastic, and I have to say that was a fantastic between High Stand and Harlow, and yeah, fair play to the guys. They gave each other respect.
Yeah, absolutely fair play. What a chaotic race that we've had here at Sonoma. Here are your official race results. Daytona Prototypes, Gresham Wagner by 4.6 seconds takes the win over Sebastian Hamp, with Blake Neck in third, Chris Aurelio in fourth, and Malik Doyer in fifth. In GTLMs, Kelvin van der Linde by only 0.4 of a second ahead of Dennis Marshall. Tim Zimmerman on the final step of the podium. Jackson Harlow with a last corner pass to be able to promote himself up into P4. Richard Heistand gets demoted into P5. Sergio Jr. with a late race problem, drops a couple of positions. He ends up finishing in P6, Axel Ari in P7. Michael Roper in P8, Blake Dubois in P9, and Rainer Talbar will round out the top 10. Kelvin van der Linde, after what was looking to be a positive race from the very back of the grid, unfortunately it wasn't to be when he missed his pit box coming in for his scheduled stop. Had to go one more, the fuel tank wouldn't allow it, and had to coast down the pit lane to be able to get into his pit box for the second time of trying. So he finishes in P11. Jon Espy in P12, Edward Lack in P13, Matthew Herman in P14, Daniel Lee P15, Michael Kotab in P16, Michael Jensen 17. In GTDs, Nicholas Short comes away with a dominant race win, 26.9 seconds over Matthias Bus. Christopher Kindler will round out the podium. Derek Lee, after his quite involved race and quite a couple of errors, still is able to come home in P4, all things considered, so good job there. Torsten Leupold, the highest placed Audi, in P5. James Egan in P6, Ralph Thieler in P7, Nicholas Berlo P8, after basically playing bumper cars with GTLMs. Brad Matthews in P9, Stephen Phillips will round out the top 10 in GTDs. Nicola Verdovelli in P11, and Joachim Siebling will round out your entire field. So, there we go. A lot to watch, a lot of action, perhaps for good reasons and for bad reasons, here at Sonoma for this week's edition of Race Sport TV Friday Primetime. But Wagner, Kelvin van der Linde, and Short coming away with race wins here today in each of the three classes. And yeah, this race was just completely and utterly crazy. I'm not sure. Well, there's got to be. I struggle to say it's one of the better races we had this season, because it definitely wasn't. But in terms of entertainment factor, I think it's probably up there.
Yeah, I guess the way I could sum it up was probably the early stage of the race. It just, yeah, everyone was just making silly mistakes, going off everywhere, and then to add to it, we had some controversy halfway through, and then to top it off, we had a fantastic battle for the win, and also that fantastic battle when GTLM with Heistad and Harlow, which I have to say was absolutely fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it was brilliant. But we'll get to see what's in store for the last couple of weeks of the season in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. Road Atlanta's next week, same time, same place on the iRacing Esports Network. That is always a fun prospect, so I can't wait until we head there. And then we have Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and Belle Isle to finish off the season. All three of those racetracks can be unique for very different reasons. Yeah,
absolutely, and I have to say, the next round at Road Atlanta, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. But it's one of my favourite tracks for multi-class racing, and or just in any series really. It's such a fantastic track, and yeah, looking forward to that. And I think next week, with it being a 1 hour race, should be interesting to see what drivers do with regards to strategy and see how the racing is.
Yeah, I certainly can't wait for it, but the racing is not done here on iRacing or on Sport TV for the weekend, because tomorrow we have round number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. Sebastian Job and Graham Carroll taking race wins for Red Bull Racing Esports in the opening round at Zandvoort, but is there going to be anyone else heading their way to the top step of the podium in iRacing's most competitive iRacing World Championship to date? Join Martin Haven and Mr. Paul Smith for that one at 1:30 p.m. GMT. But tune in a little bit earlier, please, because we have the support series, Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge, with myself and Paul at 1:45 GMT to support the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. And there are decent prizes for that particular series as well. In fact, even more than what a World Championship used to be just a couple of years ago. Go on, Ryan.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to watching that tomorrow. And yeah, the first round last week was absolutely fantastic to watch, I should say. And yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be another good round as well, and some epic racing as always.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant indeed. They head to Barcelona for round 2 of World Championship competition here on iRacing. The Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup continues to get better and better as those races go on. But we're still early stages of the season, so we'll get to see how things shape up and what the early form for each driver and each of the teams is going to be like in that particular competition. But that's going to be the end of this week's edition of Race Sport TV Friday Primetime. I've been Connery Maddock. I've been joined by Ryan Walker. Paul Smith, not only is he a commentator, but he sits behind the scenes pushing all the buttons as well. And of course, Istvan Ballo providing us our Track TV cams. TrackCams22.com if you want to buy the same cameras that we use on the day-to-day here at Race Sport TV. But from me, that's it. We'll see you guys, same time, same place next week. Goodbye.